Welcome to the Premier League show here on the Controversial Live on Control 2 JB Sports and focus on football. Technical difficulties mean we will not be broadcasting this week's show on Storm FM. We're delighted to say I'm joined by my regular co-host, Paul James, who's with me today, and I'm also joined by a guest, Luke Turton. First of all, Paul, how are you doing tonight, my friend? You okay?
I'm well, thanks, Russ. How are you?
Yes, I'm good, thank you, Paul. And Luke, how are you doing, my friend? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad, Russ.
Good to hear, my friends. We're going to be reviewing, first of all, as you can see, it's a Premier League review show and preview show in one this week, guys. I'm going to review the games from last week. Let me just show you what the results were from last week, first of all, which we're up on the screen right now. Burnley 1, Luton 1, Chelsea 1, Fulham 0, Newcastle 2, Man City 3, Everton 0, Aston Villa 0, and Manchester United 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2. So a quick look at the table, what the table is looking like ahead of these matches this week that we've got coming up after the results from last week. That is what the table looks like. Sheffield United remaining bottom of the table. They're in action this weekend. Burnley in the bottom three still. They're now closing the gap on Everton, who remain just above the drop zone. Luton in the bottom three as well with Burnley. The three bottom teams that are in the relegation zone are the three teams that came up from the Championship last season. In the top end, Liverpool are top, Man City are second, Aston Villa are in third, Arsenal in fourth. So we'll go through those teams that play this week a little bit later on as well. So we'll take a look at those scores again, and we'll start reviewing these matches. And this match between Burnley and Luton finished a 1-1 draw. There was some controversy about Luton's equaliser in this game from last Friday evening against the Claret, who took the lead with a fantastic goal, which for me, I know some people have said it's not, but for me, I know it's not being credited to Jan Berg-Gudmundsson, but for me, that shot from Amdouni wasn't going in my opinion, and took a deflection off of Jan Berg-Gudmundsson to put Burnley into lead. He's been given to Amdouni though, so congratulations to him for his goal last week. Carlton Morris then scored what has been described as a controversial moment. Before we get the thoughts of my co-host Paul James, and who is a Burnley supporter, and what we'll say a very neutral Burnley supporter, let me get the thoughts of neutral fan Luke Turton on this game. And Luke, it was a good game to watch, I felt, last week. Burnley 1-1 with Luton. Lots of talks around the Luton goal being controversial, so we'll touch on that first. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I said on co-coms at the time that it was a foul on James Trafford. I think whilst there's an argument to say the goalkeepers are overprotected a lot of the time, this occasion Adebayo makes a move in to block off James Trafford's path to get the ball, and in that case it should be a foul. So I'm of the opinion of yes, that goal should have been disallowed, but I'm also not surprised that it wasn't.
Yes, if we touch upon now the Burnley goal, I think for me, I know it's not gone down as a goal from Jan Berg-Gudmundsson, but for me, it struck Gudmundsson on the way in, and he was onside, and he got the final touch. And I don't think the shot from Amdouni was going in. Then the keeper would have saved it, in my opinion, anyway. Luke, would you have given that goal to Amdouni? And what's the goal it was, by the way, from Amdouni? I know it's been credited with now. What goal it was by Amdouni?
Yeah, I'd have credited it to Amdouni because the shot was on target. The thing about who gets credit to the goal is not whether it's going to go into the net. It's whether it's on target. The shot's on target before the deflection's taken. It's like if it's an own goal. If the shot's going wide and then it's deflected in, that's an own goal. If the shot's on target and it's deflected, usually it's given to the person that's hit the shot. So in this case, Amdouni hit the shot. It was going in on target, and then it hits Goodmanson on the line. But I think really the decision was the ball directly over the line before it hit Goodmanson? Nobody will ever know. They've obviously looked at it and decided it's going to be Amdouni's goal. So who are we to really argue with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's fetch in a very good and very neutral Burnley fan in Paul James on this game. And I know you was on commentary last week, Paul, and very good commentary alongside Luke last week, by the way, my friend, in that Burnley Luton game. What did you make to first of all, the Amdouni goal, first of all, and Burnley's performance in that game?
Well, I thought Burnley played quite well. I think I agree with Luke. It wasn't an Amdouni goal, in my opinion. I believe the shot was on target and going in, so it's his goal. I agree with you as well. I think it was a very good goal. I think Burnley had the chances to really extend the lead, and they didn't take them. So whilst I also agree with Luke that it was a foul on the goalkeeper, I also find it very difficult to grumble because Burnley had the chances and they didn't take them.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go on to that disallowed goal. Obviously, at the time you say it's a foul, you said that you agree with Luke that it was a foul.
Mm-hmm.
The PGMOL, which we all know is in charge of the referees, they've said the reason why the goal stood for Carlton Morris last Friday evening for against Burnley for Luton was it was a coming together, which is what they've said. And I said at the time, and I'm sticking by this. For me, I don't think that's a foul because what I will say is, if they're saying it's coming together, and we saw it coming together between Onana and Kalinic of Wolves at the opening day of the season at Old Trafford in Man United and Wolves' opening day game back in August. And for me, if that goal and if that wasn't given as a penalty because it was coming together, then I think the goal should have been awarded. It's identical to that one to me, where the keeper's going to try and get the ball, collides with the player, and they said that was coming together. I think that's coming together. And if they're going to give these sorts of as fouls, then we're going to see a lot more of those as fouls in the game, which are not fouls, in my opinion, Paul. And obviously, probably you can understand my viewpoint on that goal as well.
Well, we all have different viewpoints, but I think there's one thing we can all agree on: the PGMOL are not really reliable. It was a coming together. Adebayo came to Trafford and interfered with him. So yes, I suppose it was a coming together. In my opinion, and again, this is also the opinion of former referee Keith Hackett that posted on Twitter about this, that it was a foul. The thing is with these things, they're all up for interpretation. They're always up for interpretation, and one person's opinion is going to be different than another. Take yours, for example. You think it wasn't a foul. Me and Luke think it was. I know other people within the group have said it's not a foul as well. So there are people with different opinions. It's more or less split down the middle. The problem is you'll never get to the bottom of it because we're all going to have our opinions on it. And my opinion was it was a foul. But I think, as I said before, the PGMOL have proven themselves not to be reliable this season, or any season for that matter, in recent times. VAR has proven itself not to be reliable over and over and over again. How many times on this show, Russ, have we had this discussion about the PGMOL? How many times has VAR become a subject for controversy each week in the Premier League?
And I've got the thing up from Keith Aki, which you referred to, Paul, and he put out yet another amazing decision to allow Luton Town goal after the VAR check. The Burnley goalkeeper was clearly impeded by a deliberate act and movement against a goalkeeper. Burnley have every right to be aggrieved. Once again, sorry, I should say, and VAR getting it wrong. And there's been some comments on that as well, with some people saying absolutely joke of a decision. I've been reading through, and one fan, I'm not going to read out one person, Brad Keith Hackett, and I'm not going to read out his name, but he says, why didn't the referee just give a foul? Anywhere on the field, he'd have given it. It's like, I'll pass the decision to someone else, then I'm in the clear if it's wrong. And that's what someone said on the match referee and the VAR stuff from the Burnley game last week.
No, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that in full, but I partly agree with that. The referee had given the goal, and VAR then looked at it and decided it was a goal as well. It's just one of them decisions that we've seen so many times this season and last season. And really, since VAR has become in its inception, I've been very clear on my views on VAR. I wish it would go away. But the thing is, the reality is, and it's something that we're all going to have to face, it's not going away. They won't get rid of it. Only thing they're going to do now is just build on it. And all I can say is that hopefully they get it right and make it better eventually. But I do revert back to my original comment, and that is that Burnley didn't take their chances. So I don't have much complaints, really.
Yes, no worries there. Thank you very much for your opinion on the Burnley versus Luton Town game there, Paul, James, and also thank you to Luke as well for his thoughts on that game. The next game we are going to discuss is the West London Derby, which the two gentlemen who you've just heard from a minute ago on the Burnley game were on commentary for us last weekend. In this game as well, Cole Palmer with a penalty just before half time. The difference between these two sides. Paul, I'll come to you first on this one. This was a very good game. Both teams looking to try and win it. It was settled on a penalty. For you, was it a penalty? Because for me, I don't think it was.
Yeah, for me it was a penalty. He caught him. Now, whether or not it was enough to go down is, again, a matter of opinion. How much contact? Let me ask you a question, Russ. Before we move any further with this, so we don't get too deep into this, let me ask you a question. How much contact is enough contact?
I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that, Paul.
Right. So it's a matter of opinion. So the contact was made, and the player went down. I would have given a penalty for this because, and the reason why I'm a bit more sympathetic to these type of tackles is just basically the scientific fact that you are less balanced when you are running than when you're walking. When you're walking, you are more balanced. That's why in the rules of safety in the workplace or anywhere really, what do they always say? Walk, don't run. Because you're not at your full balance when you're running. So any kind of contact when you're running could be enough to take you off your feet. For that reason, penalty for me.
For me, and I've seen Sterling do this before, because I know it was Sterling who was fouled for this penalty, and I've seen Sterling do this plenty of times before. For Chelsea, I've seen him do it occasionally for England. For me, Sterling goes down far too easy. And for me, he's already on his way down before the contact is made as well. So for me, that's why myself personally would not have given that penalty decision. Last week for Chelsea.
Yeah. I get your point.
That's why I would have said. That's why I would have just gone play on and not get the penalty there.
Well, I definitely agree with you about Sterling. He does have a history of diving. I don't think he did in this case, but he does have a history of it. That's granted. I do agree with you on that.
Yes, and that's the reason why I wouldn't have given that penalty if I was in the man in the middle for that game there. Luke, you also covered this game alongside Paul for the commentary hub. What was your take on the penalty incident between Chelsea and Fulham? And also, question to you, was Fulham unlucky not to get anything out of this game?
Um, I think if we talk about the penalty first, I just have an issue with the fact that Issa Diop put his leg in the position in the first place to give the referees a decision to make. If he'd stayed on his feet and made himself big, then there would have been no talking point in the first place as to whether there was enough contact for Raheem Sterling to go down. Yes, we are very fully well aware that Raheem Sterling goes down far too easily. But the same could be said probably about 25 to 30% of the players that play in the Premier League. And I think I'm being a bit nice with the percentage I've just given there. But we, if you're always judging a decision on past experience of how players go down, then certain players would never get penalties given against them because of their previous record. Now, do I think that this one was a soft penalty? Yes. Do I think it's a decision that should be a penalty? I'm a bit unsure. But do I think it was a clearly obvious mistake from the referee? No, because Issa Diop was silly and left his leg there, which gave the officials a decision to make. Now, let me handle your question on whether Fulham were unlucky to get something. In the end, yes, I'd say so, because they put up a good fight. They kept it at 1-0 in the second half. But also, they didn't create enough. They didn't have enough chances that they actually were taking on target. And I think it may have been different if they'd had their full complement of players there and didn't lose Bassi and Iwobi to AFCON. But as it was, they did. So I don't see the replacement options as adequate as the options they'd lost. But in all fairness, you're only as lucky, if you like, as the performance you put in. And in this case, Issa Diop messed up with a tackle in the box, gave the official decision to make, and they decided on the day that that was a penalty, and it was tucked away brilliantly by Cole Palmer. So on the day, that's the decision that has basically won Chelsea the game because there wasn't a lot in it other than that.
Yes, absolutely, Paul. Not Paul, sorry, Luke there, sorry. And I absolutely agree with what you both say then. I can understand both points on the penalty from Luke and from Paul as well, despite having my own personal opinion here. We're now going to move on to our next game, and this game is a very good game. Or should I say, was a very good game. Newcastle United 2, Manchester City 3, a 5-goal thriller in this game. And what a match we had in this game. Bernardo Silva gave Manchester City the lead after 26 minutes, but goals on 35 and 37 from Alexander Isak and Anthony Gordon, respectively, gave Newcastle a 2-1 lead. Kevin De Bruyne, then he came off of the bench to play his first game in quite a while for Manchester City after injury. Came back against Newcastle and scored after 74 minutes, set up by Rodri, who is a very good player. And then Kevin De Bruyne got an assist for Oscar Bob, the teenager, who grabbed a goal to make it 3-2. Newcastle did have a goal disallowed for offside just after 2 minutes in this game. Ederson went off very early on as well, an injury concern ahead of Man City's next Premier League game in a week or in around about a couple of weeks or so, because next weekend it will be the FA Cup action for Man City and for Newcastle. But on this game, Luke, it was a good game to watch, and Newcastle, for me, were very unlucky not to get anything out of this game, especially after fighting back from 1-0 down to get a quick-fire double. But then, second half, they didn't really have much in a goal-scoring position, did they really?
No, I think Newcastle found a bit of themselves within this game, and I think that's probably where the offside goal came from. They wanted to take the game to Man City because they've noticed a weakness. But when you've got Bernardo Silva basically backheeling the ball into the net or flicking the ball into the net, then you've got to stand and applaud. I think it was good that they came back to 2-1. And then credit to De Bruyne doing what De Bruyne does best. I mean, scoring a stunning goal and then setting up Oscar Bob. I think, just shows the quality that Man City had on their bench at their disposal, to be fair. Newcastle, yeah, they can consider themselves maybe unlucky, but also they've not been good enough since the Champions League exit. So maybe they're just not quite at it now. And I don't know. I don't like the word unlucky when a side scores 3 goals against your defence. You're not unlucky, you just did some poor defending too.
Yeah, there's some talks that Eddie Howe potentially is under pressure in Newcastle after their slumping form as well, Luke. Do you understand that pressure for Eddie Howe or not really?
I think I understand it in the aspect of the way that the insanity of football has gone, because the expectation was that Newcastle got in the Champions League again. So, in that sense, yes, I think I can understand the total insanity that is breeding. In a logical, realistic sense, do I understand the pressure that Eddie Howe's under? No. Eddie Howe is battling with a lot of injuries and a long-term suspension. So really, he's got a lot of players out. They don't seem to be able to add in the window. And there's a big concern over probably now how they're going to deal with basically Guimaraes, Longstaff, and Miley in midfield, because Joe Linton's going to be out probably for the season, he's having to have surgery. So again, it's one player back, one player goes out, and that's really hard to manage. So I don't quite get the pressure, but at the same time, it's football. Owners are insane, fans are insane. So in that sense, yes, it makes total sense. Eddie Howe's under pressure because he's not really had a great run since Champions League exit. But who are we to know better than anybody else?
Absolutely, Luke. Absolutely. And I just want to fit you in here a minute, Paul, on the Eddie Howe situation. Do you understand the reason why Eddie Howe is under pressure in Newcastle at the moment with the slumping form that they've had since, like Luke rightly pointed out, since their Champions League exit?
No, not at all. I'm tired of managers being singled out for the bad performances on the pitch. Take a look at these statistics from that game at the weekend. Possession-wise, City was 72.6% possession, an astounding 27 shots compared to Newcastle's 12. This is poor play on the pitch. Okay, you can label it at the manager for the tactics. You can say the manager picks the team. You can go down all those roads that you like. But the players have a responsibility to perform on the pitch. My goodness me, they're paid enough money. No, I don't. I would not be put. I don't understand why there's pressure on Eddie Howe right now. I think Eddie Howe has now got a job on his hands to try to get Newcastle back into where he wants them to be. But don't forget, this team, if you compare it on paper to the likes of Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, for the most part, it doesn't compete. So, no, I don't think it's fair to say that Eddie Howe should be under any pressure whatsoever.
Thank you very much for your thoughts there on Eddie Howe being under pressure by some of the other media outlets and some of the fans out there as well, Paul. And thank you as well for Luke for his thoughts as well. Next game is Everton 0, Aston Villa 0. And what I will say is, this game, I wish I got those 90 minutes back from that game, because that game was one of the worst Premier League matches I have ever witnessed. There was a disallowed goal for offside, which for me was just offside. Then there were some fights in there as well, which was good. Which I won't say was good to see because it gave us some enjoyment in that game. But that's the only thing that it did in that game. Give us some enjoyment. The bye that went in between the two sets of players. That was the only real enjoyment in that game. Both teams would have taken that point at the start of play. Everton 10 attempts to Villa's 16, 2 on target from Everton, 5 for Aston Villa as well. So Aston Villa probably just shaded the action in terms of shots on goal and goal attempts and more possession. But Everton's own form has been good this season, but Villa really good as well under Unai Emery. Now we're going to move on to our next live game, and our next offering is Manchester United 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2, and what a match this was at Old Trafford. Eric Ten Hag's Manchester United dropping points from winning positions twice in this game. The two lead after 3 minutes through Rasmus Højlund, fantastic goal from Højlund to give Eric Ten Hag's side the lead. Richarlison, who's been questioned for his ability, I'll say from some of the Spurs fans, since he joined them from Everton, went into a 1-1 draw against equalised for Spurs thanks to a fantastic ball in from Pedro Porro. Rashford then scored just before half time with a fantastic ball through from Rasmus Højlund. For Rodrigo Bentancur scored on a Timo Werner assist on his Tottenham Hotspur debut. I think he worked out when I was checking. So I was counting earlier how long it took from the restart to the Spurs goal, and for me, I got it to 45 seconds. It was from my calculations. When the second half kicked off to Rodrigo Bentancur putting it in the back of the net. And Luke, what a game this was. It had everything. It had goals. It had yellow cards. I won't say it had everything because it didn't have any controversial moments. We had goals which were lacked in the Everton game.
Yeah, it had goals and probably it had a lot more excitement than the Everton Villa game. I think Spurs would probably be disappointed not to probably have won this game with the form Manchester United are currently in. But again, it shows that there's fight within both sides to really get down to it and get the points on the day.
Yes, absolutely there. Absolutely, my friend. We're now just going to review. We're now going to quickly just tell you what games we have got coming up on the channel. And our next live offering is on Saturday lunchtime, Saturday the 20th of January, 12:15 kickoff. Start time for the broadcast. Kickoff is at 12:30. Arsenal against Crystal Palace. I'm going to be in the presenter's chair. And the two gentlemen you're reviewing tonight, Paul and Luke, will be with you for commentary on that game as well tomorrow lunchtime. Make sure you join us for that one. And then we've got some more live games, which we'll tell you about coming up over the next week or so when we go through the next games that are coming up. So let's look at the games that we've got coming up, which you can see on the screen right now. Arsenal v Crystal Palace to preview. Brentford against Nottingham Forest. Sheffield United against West Ham. Bournemouth against Liverpool, and Brighton against Wolves. 3 games coming up on the commentary this weekend from the Premier League. Starting off with the game that you can see across the bottom of your screen. Arsenal against Crystal Palace on air from 12:15. Kickoff is at 12:30. Make sure you join us for that one. Well, then let's move on and discuss some of the games coming up this weekend as we now enter in the Premier League preview show. So welcome to the Premier League preview, and this is where we're going to preview the matches that we've got coming up here on the commentary this in the Premier League, including 3 of those games, which are coming up on the commentary for our listeners' pleasure to tune into. Tomorrow, Arsenal take on Crystal Palace on Saturday at 12:30, followed by Brentford against Nottingham Forest. Sunday, see Sheffield United against West Ham and Bournemouth against Liverpool. And on Monday, we see Brighton versus Wolverhampton Wanderers as well. So we'll start off with the London derby between Arsenal and Crystal Palace. Roy Hodgson not going fairly well in recent times at Crystal Palace. Arsenal will be able to get their reset button, or the reset buttons worked during their winter break after losing 2-0 to Liverpool almost 2 weeks ago in the FA Cup third round. A big, bad run of form for them. A player to watch in this game, from Arsenal's perspective, is Bukayo Saka, being involved in 15 goals in his last 18 games in London derbies in the Premier League. 6 goals, 9 assists for Bukayo Saka. As for Crystal Palace, Jean-Philippe Mateta is an eye for scoring against the league's big hitters, with 2 of his league goals this time, both coming at half-time against 2 of the other sides in the top 4 as well. So this is going to be a big, big game. It's a London derby, as if there ever was one. And let's go to Luke Turton first. And Luke, this should be a good game. How do you see this one going? Because for me, I think Arsenal will get the win there.
I think probably with Crystal Palace's open door approach at the back, I can see Arsenal probably getting a few goals in this game. Arsenal are potent, regardless of what form they're on. On their day, they can hurt anybody with Martinelli and Saka either side. They're really dangerous. They just got to work out a way to get that midfield ticking again. Probably having that week out probably gives that midfield a bit more time to recover. Yeah, I can really only see Arsenal winning this one. But again, Crystal Palace they also have this knack of collecting points when you least expect it. So yeah, I can see an Arsenal win, to be fair, though.
Yes, that's what I see as well, and I agree with your comments there on Crystal Palace. Let's feature our Arsenal correspondent, Paul James, now. And Arsenal up against Crystal Palace this weekend, Paul. It's going to be a good game, I feel. I see this one going in. Do you agree with the 2 players to watch there from Arsenal's perspective, in Bukayo Saka being one of Arsenal's players to watch, especially in London derbies?
Yeah, Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, as Luke mentioned, also Martin Odegaard. The thing is, under normal circumstances, I would agree with you both entirely that Arsenal would beat Crystal Palace. Unfortunately, their recent form has not dictated like a top 5 team. I would even say a top 10 team at the moment. This is relegation form, actually, what you're seeing from Arsenal recently. 1 win in 5 games, with 3 defeats there as well. They've only scored 4 goals in the last 5 league games and conceded 6. So this is poor form all round by Arsenal. Do I think 2 weeks off or a week off would have fixed that issue? Well, possibly. It certainly would have given Mikel Arteta something to work on. But at the moment, Arsenal, it's very hard for me to say that I can predict an Arsenal victory in the way that they're playing right now. It's very hard for me to say that. I think they've been playing very poorly. I think the usual watertight defence has become very leaky. David Raya has come under question with some of his goalkeeping. So there's a couple of things that are at play. I agree Crystal Palace can definitely be exploited at the back, and they themselves only have 1 win in 5 games. But we're talking about a team in 4th and a team in 14th. So I would like to say yes, probably an Arsenal victory, but I can't say it with any certainty.
Yes, no, it's Paul. Thank you very much. Do you think with Crystal Palace then, Paul, do you think they've got players that can hurt Arsenal this weekend?
Oh, absolutely. You only have to point to, I don't know if Edward has gone away to AFCON. I'm not 100% sure on that. If he had, actually, no, he probably hasn't. Of course not. But he's got 6 goals for Edward. So he is a potential threat for that Arsenal defence. Tyrick Mitchell at the back is pretty good. And they've got Jordan Ayew as well, who's provided 5 assists, and Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's provided 3. So they've got goals in them, and of course, in the last 5 games, they have 8 goals. So they've conceded a lot, but they've also scored a lot too. So it's difficult to say. I think I wouldn't want to put a prediction on this just with Arsenal's form right now. Looking forward to doing the game though.
Yeah, should be a good game tomorrow, 12:15. We're on air for Arsenal against Crystal Palace. Join myself, Paul, and Luke for that one, just to keep you in the loop on what's happening at the Emirates tomorrow afternoon. Well, then next up is the tea time game: Brentford against Nottingham Forest. Forest going fairly well in the table compared to where Brentford are at this moment in time. I know both teams have had a bit of form struggling recently, but a point between them. Forest with 2 wins on the bounce in their last couple of matches, including a victory over Manchester United. They also beat Newcastle, lost to Bournemouth and Spurs, but drew with Wolves as well. Brentford defeats in a row against Brighton, Sheffield United, Aston Villa, Wolves, and Crystal Palace as well. Come to you first on this one, Paul. Do you see Brentford getting back on the winning trail against Nottingham Forest, or do you think Forest will have too much for them?
I think Forest might have a bit too much for them, to be honest. They're on 5 straight defeats of Brentford right now. They've conceded 12 goals in 5 games and only scored 4 in their last 5 league games. They are slipping, our Brentford, and they're now down to 16th. In fact, I say slipping, they're dropping like a stone. Whereas Nottingham Forest have just come off 2 big victories, huge victories. 2-1 at home to Manchester United and 3-1 away at Newcastle. Yes, they did. Both sides don't really have any major advantage because both sides were pushed to FA Cup extra time in both of their games. So for Brentford as well, going out the FA Cup during the week, Forest on a bit of a high. Yes, it was only Blackpool, but they are through to the 4th round. And Nuno Espirito Santo has started really, really well for Nottingham Forest. I only see the Nottingham Forest getting the victory here, to be honest.
Yes, and Luke, with you being a Forest fan, and I want to ask you your opinion on Forest at the moment. Got through in the cup only just in midweek against Blackpool, but those 2 wins that I've mentioned and Paul's mentioned against Manchester United and Newcastle as well. Do you think those last 3 results will have a bearing on how you're performing, whether you get over the line in this one? And if so, do you think it'd be a tight game like some of the others have been in recent weeks?
Well, it's worth noting that we are injury and AFCON hitted Nottingham Forest for one, because the latest to go down is Morgan Gibbs-White. He's probably still going to be missing for tomorrow's game. That adds to Anthony Alanga that was out from the Manchester United game. And obviously the list goes on and on and on and on because we just love an injury down here in Nottingham. But as for the actual game itself, yeah, I think that'll probably play into it a little bit because Forest have a lot of players that were playing out of position, which always is not helpful. Brentford have got Ivan Toney returning. He loves a goal against Nottingham Forest. So, yay, go us. I think the only thing I'd say about Brentford at the minute is they're missing Mbuemo and they're missing Johan Visser. So they'll have to work out another way of getting the ball forward to Ivan Toney. But at the end of the day, we're away from home. If Forest can keep it tight, then I can see a Forest win. if the injuries to Murillo and Omobamidele from last game are still there for this game, then we've got problems. But hopefully, Murillo only went down with cramp, and Omobamidele probably with fatigue. So I'm praying that that's going to happen. If you push me for a score prediction early on, Russ, I'd probably say 1-0 to Forest.
Yes, no problem. And just want to quickly ask you as well. You mentioned in there Ivan Toney's back has been suspended for the last 8 months. Do you think his return will give Brentford a bit of a boost going into this game, Luke?
Well, a player of Tony's standard doesn't come back into a squad and make them worse now, does he? I think any Brentford fan that knows Ivan Toney is coming back will be buzzing for his footballing ability. They probably don't like what he's been saying in interviews during the week about wanting to leave and go to another club. But same token, if you've got him on the field and can get the ball into the box and get him running at defenders, yeah, I think they'd be pretty happy to have their main striker back, Russ.
And Paul, just a quick one to you then, my friend, on Ivan Toney. Do you think this is a big boost for Brentford going into the game against Forest? I meant to ask you when I spoke to you about that. Do you think it's a big boost for Ivan Toney returning for Brentford?
Yeah, it's very dangerous. It's a quality striker, absolute quality striker, but he's coming off a long layoff. So you have to do what you do have to wonder about is match fitness on whether or not he'll be ready to go. I'm sure he's maintained some level of fitness while he's been absent, but to be fair, he may not be just ready as of yet. So we'll wait and see. I could be wrong, of course, but we all know how much of a threat he is. So we'll wait and see on that one.
We will indeed. I can tell you that Thomas Frank confirmed in his press conference on Friday afternoon that Ivan Toney will be the captain for Brentford against Nottingham Forest this weekend. And I can tell our listeners that Toney has been keeping match sharp, playing for the Brentford B side in some of their matches, some of their friendly matches that they've had over the past week or over the past couple of weeks or so to get his match sharpness up, ready for his return to first team action. We're going to move on now to the game on Sunday at Bramall Lane, where near the bottom of the bottom of the table, Sheffield United, who remain bottom on 9 points, take on 6th place West Ham United, who are on 34 points, which this one for me is going to be a tough one for Sheffield United to get anything out of this game. Paul, I'll come to you first. Do you see anything other than a West Ham victory in this one? Because for me, I can only see an Hammers giving the Blades a bit of a blunting with a very big hammer.
Well, West Ham haven't conceded a goal in the league since a 5-0 defeat to Fulham. They've had 3 wins and a draw. Sheffield United, of course, have scored 4 goals in the last 5 games, but conceded 8. So it's a very tough challenge for Sheffield United, and they're struggling down there. They've lost 3 out of the last 4. Their only victory coming just prior to that was a 1-0 home win over struggling Brentford. For me, I think West Ham are on a really good run of form right now. They're definitely challenging for a European place. And if they can continue to the form right now, which is obviously excellent, who knows where they could go beyond from there. I hate to be so one-sided on this, but I really only see a West Ham victory, if I'm being honest.
And Paul, I also see just a West Ham victory in this one, if I'm honest as well. So you're not on your own with that there and not being just one-sided. Because I can see it's been a West Ham victory and I can see it being a comfortable West Ham victory and Sheffield United remaining bottom of the Premier League for yet another week. Right, Luke, what about you? How do you see this game going? And are you going to make an hat-trick of West Ham wins in your prediction, or do you think Sheffield United can get something out of this game? And if so, why?
Never ever rule out Sheffield United at Bramall Lane, especially under Chris Wilder. Expect the unexpected. West Ham didn't have a great day out in the FA Cup at Ashton Gate, so they're gonna probably be feeling that a little bit. They've not got Mohamed Kudus because he's in AFCON. They haven't got Antonio because he's still out injured. And I think if there's ever a chance for Sheffield United to get something out of a game against West Ham, now is your chance. So I think Sheffield United gonna have to have a siege mentality. They're gonna have to go out and battle and keep it tight and hit them on the break. But again, don't rule them out. And especially under Chris Wilder, he knows how to get them ticking. I I'm not gonna say that Sheffield United are gonna win, but I'm gonna predict a draw.
So 2 for the Hammers, 1 for a draw. Who will get the Hammer blow in getting the one correct? Will it be myself and Paul, or will it be Luke getting these predictions right and giving myself and Paul an Hammer blow, which we'll have to wait and see. If me and Paul give an Hammer blow to Luke, we'll sure to let him know about it in our private chat that we have. We'll move on now to the next live game, which is going to be on the channel on Sunday afternoon, on air from round about 4:25 as Bournemouth take on Liverpool on Sunday afternoon. One of the last times the two sides met in the league, and one of the head-to-heads in recent games between both the Liverpool and Bournemouth game. One of the more recent results back in 2022, August of 2022 at Anfield, it finished Liverpool 9, Bournemouth 0. Last couple of times at Bournemouth in 2023, March 2023, finished Bournemouth 1, Liverpool 0. And back in November at Bournemouth, November 2023, it finished Bournemouth 1, Liverpool 2, which was in the EFL Cup back in November. So, but Anfield, it was 3-1 to Liverpool against Bournemouth. This one's going to be a good game, I feel. And Luke, I can only see Liverpool winning. I know Liverpool are without some of their key players in Mohamed Salah, who's away on AFCON and now injured as well. Also, players that are out injured for Liverpool this weekend is Trent Alexander-Arnold, Bajcetic, Endo, Matip, Robertson, Thiago Tsimikas. Endo is also on nationality duty in the Asian Cup for Japan. Most other with Egypt in the AFCON. With some questionable over Szoboszlai as well. When you look at Bournemouth's injury record compared to Liverpool's, they've got Tyler Adams, Ryan Frederick, Lloyd Kelly, Kirkes, all injured. Randolph is out with illness, and then they've got Atua and Semenyo is away on international duty as well. So their list is a lot smaller than Liverpool's. Do you see Brentford getting a win in this game, or do you think Liverpool will be too strong for them?
Well, Bournemouth for me are a very difficult team to play against. They've still got Billing, they've still got Solanke, they've still got Kiefer Moore. So they've got enough there, and especially with the list that Liverpool have got out, I wouldn't say it's as clear cut as a Liverpool win, especially with it being at Bournemouth. I would say that for me, again, Bournemouth are on a bit of a run. So I would say that this one, I'm swaying towards probably Bournemouth just nicking this one, just to be controversial.
Yes, you know, look, you never controversial. We're all like opinions on the channel here. We'll quickly move on to Paul for this game. How do you see this one going, Paul? Do you think Liverpool could get something, or are you going to side with Luke?
This one's a tricky one because Bournemouth are doing very well, and they're not nicking 1-goal victories. Like, look at the last 5 games. They've scored 12 goals in 5 games. That's a 2.4 goals for average per game. This is a 12th place team. Now, yes, they're just coming off a 3-1 away defeat to Tottenham Hotspur. But those 3 goals and the 2 that they conceded against Nottingham Forest away, albeit still won the game, were the only were the 5 goals they've conceded in these 5 games. The rest of them were clean sheets. This is not an easy team to play against, and Liverpool are not in for an easy afternoon. Having said that, though, despite the absences, I still think Liverpool may have just enough to win this game.
Yes, I think Liverpool have enough to win this game as well. So it's just you, Luke, who's going for the Bournemouth victory in this game. Next up, we'll move on to our Monday night offering on the channel, which will be covered by my 2 guests. Again, they're on duty on Monday night as Brighton take on Wolverhampton Wanderers at the Amex Stadium. Brighton looking to get a victory over Wolves, and they're without some of their players. Adingra on international duty, and Senso due to knee injury, Fati due to a calf injury, Lamptey international duty as well, March with a knee injury, determined nationality duty, Velman with a knee injury, Igor has got a knock and is questionable for this game. As for Wolves, they're missing Ryan Nuri due to international duty, along with Wang Yi-chan. Johnny is being left out due to a cut, due to manager Gary O'Neill's decision-making. Not sure what's gone off there. And Traore is away on international duty as well. Boubacar Traore went on international duty as well. Last time these 2 sides met in the head-to-head meetings in the Premier League back in August, Brighton come away with a 4-1 victory over Wolves, and Molineux, sorry to Kieran Riley if he's listening, to remind him of that scoreline. But Paul, I'll come to you first. Brighton against Wolves on Monday night. You're going to be covering this one for the channel. How do you see this one going, my friend?
Well, it's a tough call to make. Wolves have got 3 victories on the bounce, including 9 goals in those 3 games, and only conceding 2. Pretty good going. As for Brighton, well, they've only 1 win in 5 games, 3 draws. You could look at it from the other perspective of only losing 1 in 5 as well, because the other 3 were draws. But so it's been very even Stevens for Brighton. Also, one other thing Brighton do have in their favour, they have a tremendous record recently against Wolves. 16 goals in 5 games against the Wolfpack, and 4 goals in retaliation for Wolves, and Brighton winning 4 out of those 5. The last victory in the league for Wolverhampton came at the Amex Stadium on Wednesday, the 15th of December 2021. But otherwise, it's been purely dominated by Brighton, including a 6-0 victory last season at the Amex. This is going to be a huge challenge, I think, for Wolves. But they are playing very, very well right now, and it's I think they are capable of beating Brighton, I think, in the way that they're playing at the moment. And I think this one might be a draw, but if I was to lean towards any one of the teams, I'd say possibly Wolves.
Kieran Riley will be on your Christmas card list. You'll be on Kieran Riley's Christmas card list with saying that, Paul, I think. I'm not sure I would, because I think Brighton will probably do a league double over them, which was not have happened, which last time happened was in not for quite a while, because last season, 21-22 season, the 21-22 season, Wolves won at Brighton won at Wolves. Last season, it was a 3-2 win for Brighton at Wolves and a 6-0 win at home last season. So Brighton will be looking to complete a league double over Wolves for the first time since last season. looking at this game, then Luke, now do you see Brighton getting a victory here and doing another league double over Wolves, or do you think Wolves will come on strong and get the win here?
No, I don't think either side are going to win this one. I think it's going to be a 3-3 draw, lots of goals, very entertaining. Both sides won't be able to defend, and they'll put out probably a very weakened side after listening to all those players out for Brighton. Wolves, not as much, but again, I think I just want excitement in this game.
Yes, and Wolves, let's just say, they had extra time in midweek for their FA Cup replay. Brighton didn't have an FA Cup replay. They've had the full break off. Wolves have had a game in midweek in the FA Cup replay. Oh, do you reckon that could play a factor into who wins this game, Luke?
Yes, I think definitely playing extra time will have an effect on Wolves. I think I'd like to see a little bit more attacking threats, maybe going forward, and a bit more control over the chances that Wolves have. Brighton, though, they have got a very adequate squad, and I believe that if both sides play well, they can score against each other. So again, like I said, I'm going for a high scoring draw.
Yes, and I think Brighton will get the double over Wolves this weekend. So I don't think I'm going to be on the Kieran Riley Christmas card list at the end of the year. So this is all we have got time for on the Premier League preview show. Thank you to those and review show. Thank you to those who have listened this evening. Just a quick reminder of what the tables look like going into the matches this weekend, with the tables up on your screen right now, with Liverpool being at the top of the tree. And they stay there this weekend, or will Man City replace them at the top of the table? You have to tune in to find out how Liverpool gets on in their game. Well, Liverpool will still remain top even if they lose, because Man City played last week and they've got a game in hand over Liverpool after Liverpool play this week. Their game in hand is against Brentford, which City will probably win, so they'll probably end up going top after that when they play their game in hand. But this weekend, regardless of how Liverpool go on, they remain top of the table. But that is what the table looks like going into this week's round of matches. Big thanks to those who have tuned in for the Premier League preview show and review show earlier on in the broadcast. Big thanks to my two guests, Luke Turton and my co-host Paul James. From myself, Russ, Vernon, from Paul, from Luke, and from the team at the Commentary Hub, is a very thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you all. And we'll see you all tomorrow lunchtime from 12:15 as we bring you Arsenal against Crystal Palace. Join us for that one. Until then, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you all again real soon. Take care. Goodbye for now.